Hey, and welcome to my channel. It is Care Monique. So excited to have you here. If you do not know what this channel is about, I typically do videos around helping those in the footwear and handbag industry, or those aspiring to get into that industry, design their lines without having to go to formal school. So I do lots and lots of videos and trainings around creating your own fashion line without having to have that big price tag and that long-term journey of going to school. In today's video, I am going to actually talk to you about some of the people that you may need / see within the fashion industry, and I'm going to quickly break all of them down as to what they do and how you might need them. So let's jump right into this video. No particular order of how I am kind of throwing these folks out, but I wanted to make sure that you knew exactly who it is that you might come across or who it is that you may need when you are starting your fashion brand, and especially depending on certain levels as you grow, your team is going to grow. So one of the people that are going to be very, very important to your brand is going to be your operations manager. And your operations manager basically handles all things operations. So they would be kind of a general manager overseeing the entire brand in some ways, the operation of maybe a warehouse if you have a warehouse, or the operation of a specific type of facility or some particular form of business that you are doing. They might be logistics, they might be over modeling and photography, they might be over showcasing, those kind of things, but they are the point person that's over the entire team of whatever that operation is. So you don't want to skip out on having an operations manager for whatever level you may be at in your business. The next one is going to be a merchandiser. Sometimes you are going to have a product merchandiser, a fashion merchandiser. There are lots of different types of merchandisers, but a merchandiser is definitely going to be someone that you're going to have on your team, because they're going to be the person to actually do the research around getting you whatever it is that you need merchandised. Is that even a word? But I think you all know what I mean when I say that. Next, you're probably going to have a creative director. A creative director is really going to oversee the creative direction of the brand, right? So they're going to be a little bit different from like some people kind of mix them up with the photographer or the web designer. Now all of these folks can work together on a team. All of these folks bring different skill sets, but a creative director is usually going to be the person that kind of creates the aesthetic of whatever the campaign may be that you all are running, whether it's some type of campaign ad, some type of promotion, whether it's a specific collection that is being launched in a specific way. They are the director of how that happens and how creatively that happens. You are also going to have an illustrator if you are not a drawer yourself. And an illustrator is just simply the person that draws out your designs for the tech packs or for your manufacturer, whatever production process it is that you go into. But an illustrator is going to be super, super important for getting those ideas out of your head and onto paper for other people to visualize and realize. Another person you're going to have is going to be your marketing manager. And your marketing manager is going to be the person that's really going to look over the budget of your ads, where you should be placing ads and advertisements at all. What types of magazines you should be looking at, what types of platforms should you be on, really promoting and getting your brand out there in front of people. A marketing manager is going to be pretty important, and oftentimes a marketing manager that isn't necessarily titled a marketing manager. They might have another name, something, and sometimes they're wrapped into kind of your PR person. They could be in collaboration sometimes with your creative director, but a marketing manager can also exist in a very specific way, and it's very common to have that position or see that position within the fashion industry. Another one is going to be your accessories designer, and an accessories designer doesn't necessarily mean you have to design accessories for your brand. Sometimes an accessories designer is literally someone that's on the team that is doing they're making the complementary pieces to your brand come alive. What are the add-ons or the things that help with your brand coming alive? That is not the most common way that we use an accessories designer. Accessories designer is literally an accessories designer, someone who can draw purses, create purses, jewelry, all of those kind of things. But they could also be a part of your creative team as well as someone who can find the complementary pieces or bring the collection together in a specific type of way. They have a very special kind of skill set, if I would say, for the smaller details often when you're working with accessories. Another person you're going to have is a model agent. And a model agent is the person that actually gets models, which is another type of person you will have on your team. If you are in the fashion space, I can almost guarantee you're going to have some kind of model in some way. So your model agent is the person that goes out and gets the talent, auditions the talent, brings the talent on to the team. If you decide that you want to have some type of facility or showroom or VIP type experience, or even just a store, you're often going to have what we call a showroom representative. And a showroom representative is the person that literally represents your showroom. They are the person that greets folks, really oversees the team that's working the showroom, the design of the showroom, all of the things that make the showroom pop. The things that make the showroom, that is what a showroom representative is. You will also have a stylist, and a stylist can be, there are lots of different types of stylists, but for this particular video, I'm talking about an actual fashion stylist, the person that puts your pieces together onto your models or onto the mannequin, or however it is that you're styling for, say, a shoot or for your store or whatever that might be. The stylist is the person that is actually putting the pieces together, making it all come together in terms of the actual outfit or the actual fashion pieces that are a part of your brand. You may come across an editor or need an editor within your brand, and that's if you're doing like tons of pieces where they're written pieces across maybe even social media or journals or magazines or any kind of outpouring of your brand in kind of written form. You are probably going to need / come across an editor, someone that makes your brand look good, someone that knows whatever language it is that your brand is in very well, so that you look professional and very wise. You will definitely, most certainly need a photographer if you want people to see your items, right? They have to be photographed in some kind of way to get out there. So a photographer is going to be vital for your brand. And a photographer, honestly, is going to be one of the first people that you work with once your collection has come to fruition. Once you have made your collection, a photographer is going to be pivotal, because that is how you're going to start getting the brand out there. So you want to hire a good photographer, and you want to have a good plan with that photographer, someone who has a really good eye for fashion. You may also really come across bloggers. You might even want to use bloggers, or influencers are really big now. And these are folks who are able to promote your brand, able to give reviews of your brand, folks who have some trust in the space where buyers are. You will definitely and most certainly not want to skip out on the influencers or the blogger market of folks who can really help with your brand. You will also come across trend forecasters, and as you grow, you will want a trend forecaster. Trend forecasters, typically, they are telling you seasons ahead of when you're producing, what are some of the hottest trends? What are some of the hottest fabrics, the color schemes? What is it that you should be creating to ensure that you are a part of the trendy market, that you are going to be able to sell what it is that you want to sell when that season comes around? Super important, because in the fashion industry, we usually are about a year ahead of time. So you would be preparing for winter of next year in winter of this year. So that is typically, this timeline is usually very long in traditional fashion design, and in particular footwear. That is the space that I am in. Footwear is about a year's cycle. So a trend forecaster helps you stay on trend with what is to come. You will also come across textile designers, or need a textile designer. And textile designers, typically they work with textiles. That is what they do. They make sure that you're using the proper types of textiles, that these types of textiles work for your brand, for the aesthetic of collections, all of that. And they are really going to kind of stay within that niche. They are not to necessarily be confused with kind of like a seamstress or a merchandiser. A textile designer is going to be a little different, and I really recommend, if you need a textile designer, that you do your research before hiring one or bringing one onto your team. Another one is going to be just a general designer, the person that is designing some of your collections, or the team of folks who are helping you to design your collections. I imagine you are not going to be the only person that is creating as you grow, so you will have another designer or a team of designers who are helping to bring collections to full fruition. It's also super helpful. One of the things that I realized is once you start a design, having other folks give input to that design really helps you grow out that design and create collections around a centered design or a centered focal point. And that really, really helps bring clarity to brands. Another one is going to be a bespoke tailor, or even a general tailor, but a bespoke tailor in particular, for those of you that are going into the couture space or the custom space, bespoke tailors really, they tailor to individuals. It is a specific fit for a specific person, a custom item. So you're going to want to have one in your back pocket, in particular for models. Even if your clothing line or your shoe line or whatever it is that you're designing is not custom, you want it to fit your models in a very particular way because that is a selling point for you. You want it to look really good. So you want to have a tailor on your team who can really make your clothes look good on your models. You want to have a graphic and web designer because you're going to need to be out there. We cannot deny we are living in the days of technology. You are going to need some type of website, some type of landing platform for folks to shop with you. Do not rely solely on social media. So you want a space that is yours, owned by you. Your customers can find you. Your customers can shop. Do not skip out on a graphic and web designer, even if you just hire them to get your site up and then you're running it or whatever, but you need a space for your brand to live. You are going to need a retail manager if you decide to go into the physical retail space. So if you are owning your own store. Now, if you're putting your stuff in another store, like consignment or some type of contract where they have their own retail managers, you won't need that. But if you are creating your own store in your own physical space that's for retail where folks can come in and shop, you will need a retail manager to manage that store. You're going to need a beauty or a makeup artist, in particular for your models, probably for you once you start to do kind of PR and those kind of things, really becoming the face of a brand. If you decide to do that, or whoever's going to be in front of your brand, you are going to want them to look well and to look very, very good as they promote your brand. So don't skip out on having a beauty team or a makeup team or makeup artist. You also are going to want to have hair artists. Even if your brand does not focus on hair, if your models have their faces and their hair in your brand, you want it to match the aesthetic. I don't care what the hair looks like, but you want to make sure that it is on brand. You need to make sure that it is planned very, very well to go with your brand so that it doesn't take away from the brand, doesn't interrupt the brand or anything like that. And a really good hairstylist on your team will be able to match with the team to get the hairstyles appropriate for whatever it is that you are promoting. You are most certainly going to want to have a quality control inspector or quality control team. I would not skip out on this, even if this is you and one other person, if this is just one person, if this is somebody at your manufacturing facility, whatever it is, you want to make sure that every garment is inspected, especially in the sampling and prototyping process. Now, we know once you get to bulk ordering, you aren't necessarily inspecting every single item in the bulk order, but you still want to take a random size medium or whatever it is, a random size 10 out of your bulk order and make sure that it matches exactly what you're paying for. You want to do that often. You also want to have quality control team before packaging. That is going to be really good. When you start to package your orders, have your quality control team or have whoever your packager is trained to look for certain things: holes, creases, dents, seams that are ripped, seams out of place, those kind of things before they package the order to go to your customer. You never want to send something to a customer. It only takes that one time for something not to be right for you to lose that customer. And sometimes you don't know because you didn't have quality control in place. Next, you might come across journalists, especially in the fashion space. If you start to do shows, if you start to really put your brand out there, people are going to want to promote your brand. People are going to talk about your brand. If your brand is on high-profile people, celebrities, those kind of things, it is very likely that journalists are going to talk about your designs, how they wore it, where they wore it, those kind of things. So really be prepared for all of that type of energy that comes from the journalist space and the media space. Another one is going to be a PR agent. Very, very important. You want to look good all the time. You need someone helping you make wise decisions, helping you make good decisions, not only for your brand, but for the voice of your brand, for the messaging of your brand, for the image of your brand. Oftentimes when we're first starting out, we want to do everything because we just want our brand out there. A PR agent will help you to not just do everything, but will help you do the right things for your brand. Another one is going to be a garment technologist. Sometimes it's just called a technologist, depending on the area that you're in or what it is that you're doing at that time. But a garment technologist is going to really work with the functionality of the garments. How does this work? Is this going to be, if you're promoting a long-lasting brand, is this actually long-lasting quality? How does this fabric or this garment, how can it be manipulated? In what ways, will this last? Will it fade? Can it be dyed? These kind of things. They really understand fabrics. They really are going to understand the usage of garments in the fashion industry as a whole. So another one is going to be a show or event producer. And really you'll come across this quite often in fashion shows because that's really the big type of events that happen in the fashion space. And this is literally going to be the person that is producing the show, the person that created it. They have all the direction. They're telling you where you are in the show, how many models you're supposed to have, assisting you with your music, your setup, your scene, whatever it is that you're doing. So you're going to want to be able to work with these types of individuals, really understand that space, or have a team of folks who can work with show and event producers. Another one is going to be a sewing tech, or in the common world, we call it a seamstress. But someone who can sew on your team. And you really want someone who can sew on your team, especially if you manufacture outside of like your warehouse or even outside of the country. Because if your quality control team finds a garment that just something is off, of course, take that to your manufacturer. But do you necessarily have time every time one seam is off or every time something is not right up to par to send it back to the manufacturer, opposed to having a seamstress who's able to just manipulate, that one little piece, or make sure that garment can still go into the collection and can still be sold. It's very, very beneficial for you to have a sewing tech or a seamstress on your team. And then also to work with your pattern maker, which I haven't talked about yet, but they can really bring stuff to life before doing big bulk orders or sending a lot of stuff over to your manufacturer, because that process can become daunting and lengthy at sometimes. Another one is going to be a buyer. So a buyer is simply the person that is actually buying whatever it is that you need. And they are important, actually, because buyers can literally they could be buying shelving for your stores. Buyers could be helping you source materials for a certain thing. You have lots of different types of buyers. So it's really going to be up to you what type of buyer you need at what stage. When you get into the retail space, you're absolutely going to need a buyer, especially if you're bringing other brands into your retail store, or if you need certain types of collections within your store. A buyer is going to help bring your store to life and make sure that you're getting proper pricing, what kind of things are appropriate for the layout and those kind of things. So that's going to be super important. You also might come across personal shoppers, or you might want to put a personal shopper on your store. And that basically what they do is they shop kind of blinded. No one knows that they are shopping for the brand, and they kind of give feedback. They talk about the experience, the products, the garments, all of those things. Personal shoppers are very, very common within the space. Also, personal shoppers or personal stylists can be people who are hired by other people to shop for them, for their closet, or for the aesthetic of their lifestyle, or for their wardrobe, whatever that is. You often see a lot of professional folks, a lot of celebrities are styled by people. They just have someone else tell them what to wear and make them look good. So those are folks that you will definitely come across in this industry. A sales advisor is another person, and a sales advisor can operate in a couple of different ways, but a sales advisor ultimately is going to make sure that you are on trend for what you should be purchasing and what you shouldn't, in terms of your manufacturing, in terms of your product cost, in terms of price points for what you should be selling stuff for, in terms of kind of the market trends of, should your prices need to be raised? How are you being competitive with your competitors? Those kind of things. They're really going to help you stay on track with your sales. A visual merchandiser is actually mostly going to be seen in the retail space, and that's the person that's putting your store together. Like, they're the person that's changing around where your clothing is in the store, what seasons, when sweaters need to move up, when sweaters need to be on the main floor, where should handbags be in correlation to whatever season it might be. Should we be bringing out hats? how your store looks and the placement of things. They're going to make sure the sizing is, you know, we often size from smallest to largest back because aesthetically it looks the cleanest. They're going to be the person that does that for you. A sourcing agent. And a sourcing agent is literally going to be sourcing for materials. That is the person that is sourcing all of the things that go into the manufacturing process. So they might be sourcing your fabrics, they could be sourcing your threads, your patterns, whatever it is that you need for a particular whatever it is that you need for a particular collection or for the brand, they're going to be doing the sourcing. And sourcing often happens in quite a few spaces across like different countries. It can happen across different manufacturers or different sourcing companies. You are probably going to get materials from multiple places, so get accustomed to working with a sourcing agent. You will have a pattern maker or come across a pattern maker. Pattern makers are very important when you're creating your own collections because they literally do the flat lay. They create the pattern that your designs are going to be based off of. So they are super, super important. And the very last one I wanted to mention to you is going to be a distribution manager. And a distribution manager usually comes into place when you are distributing your products to larger stores or working with big companies or factories or whatever that is. However, whatever your distribution plan and channels are, your distribution manager will do all of that. So that is really all I wanted to chat about in this video. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope you're able to put this kind of in your collection to pull back out when you think about who it is you need to hire, who it is you need to have on your team. If you liked this video, please remember to subscribe to my channel. Please remember to like this video, to leave me a comment on this video, and don't forget to share it. And I will see you all in the next video.